Fawlty Towers is celebrated as one of the greatest British sitcoms of all time, a show whose razor-sharp wit, chaotic energy, and unforgettable characters have endured for decades. Yet behind the laughter and perfectly timed slapstick lies a story of controversy and a particular scene so infamous that it nearly ended the show, leaving fans shocked and historians debating why a comedy so beloved faced such peril. The series, created by John Cleese and Connie Booth in the 1970s, was known for its biting satire, intricate farce, and the unpredictable antics of Basil Fawlty, a hotelier whose frustration and social ineptitude sparked chaos in every episode. While most episodes relied on misunderstandings, mistaken identities, and escalating absurdity, the episode in question, often referred to by fans and insiders as a police inspector scene, crossed boundaries in a way that had rarely been seen on British television at the time. The controversy did not arise from typical slapstick verbal abuse or even Cleese's trademark sarcasm. It arose from the sudden and unfiltered depiction of behavior that critics argue went too far, including threats, racial insensitivity, and a level of humiliation aimed directly at certain characters that audiences and regulators found deeply uncomfortable. At a time when television standards were highly rigid and broadcasting authorities were vigilant, the episode's broadcast triggered complaints, debates in Parliament, and urgent internal discussions at the BBC, a network that had previously enjoyed great success with the series and its innovative humor. Behind the cameras, the cast and crew were caught off guard. John Cleese, whose creative vision had always pushed limits, was stunned by the intensity of the backlash, recognizing that the very humor he intended to highlight absurdity had been interpreted as offensive or harmful. Producers were forced into a near-impossible position: defend the artistic integrity of the show or bow to public pressure to preserve the network's reputation. The controversy quickly became more than a matter of taste. It was about authority, broadcast responsibility, and what television could permit in terms of shocking content. Cleese himself later admitted that the scene, while intended to exaggerate human stupidity and social anxiety for comedic effect, revealed how subjective humor can be, and how timing, context, and cultural sensitivity can completely alter perception. Even fans who love Fawlty Towers recognize the discomfort of that moment. What made the series brilliant? Its willingness to expose societal awkwardness, prejudices, and absurdity became, in the eyes of some viewers, unacceptable in a public broadcast. The BBC, already cautious about complaints, decided to pull the episode from its regular schedule, airing it only in isolated reruns years later, and the fallout reached beyond programming decisions, influencing how future episodes were written, what boundaries were tested, and how far creators could push satire while jeopardizing the show's survival. While Fawlty Towers continued and remained beloved, that infamous scene became a cautionary tale, a moment when brilliant comedy collided with societal limits, leaving both creators and audiences to wrestle with the fine line between laughter and offense, between humor and harm, and ultimately demonstrating how one single scene can alter the trajectory of a television masterpiece forever. The infamous scene itself revolved around Basil Fawlty's escalating attempts to manage a situation that had already spun wildly out of control, a trademark of the series. Yet in this instance, the chaos ventured into territory that made even seasoned viewers uncomfortable, because what was meant as exaggerated farce instead struck chords of tension, offense, and social awkwardness that were impossible to ignore. The scene featured a mix of threats, insults, and physical comedy that pushed beyond the expected boundaries of polite humor, highlighting Basil's impatience, cruelty, and obliviousness, while placing other characters in situations that were meant to be ridiculous but were interpreted as humiliating and, at times, insensitive. For example, minor characters of different social or ethnic backgrounds were positioned in moments where Basil's sarcasm and rage intersected with stereotypes, creating a blend of comedy and discomfort that modern audiences might still debate today. Behind the cameras, the cast, including John Cleese and Connie Booth, were navigating a delicate balance. They knew the humor was dark, precise, and designed to expose human folly, but they had not anticipated the level of public scrutiny that would follow. Members of the production team recall that rehearsals for the scene were tense, with actors unsure whether the audience would laugh or recoil, and Cleese himself reportedly pushed multiple takes to ensure the timing delivered both chaos and clarity, unaware that the satire would be misinterpreted by some as simply offensive behavior. Once broadcast, complaints flooded in, ranging from concerned viewers writing letters to formal inquiries by the Independent Broadcasting Authority, which challenged the BBC to defend its editorial decisions. Newspapers quickly picked up the controversy, framing the scene as a potential moral lapse rather than an example of sophisticated satire, and suddenly a show that had previously been celebrated for its inventive humor was being debated in terms of ethics, broadcast responsibility, and even decency. The situation escalated further when some cast members expressed concern that their reputations were at stake, particularly those who had performed in ways that appeared offensive to certain audiences, even though they were following the script exactly as written. Cleese, often described as perfectionist and acutely aware of public perception, faced the dual challenge of defending his creative choices while attempting to preserve the show's future, knowing that a single misstep could lead to cancellation or stricter censorship. Internally, BBC executives debated whether the scene represented acceptable satire or crossed an unspoken line, weighing ratings, public trust, and the broader reputation of British comedy. In the end, the backlash forced the BBC to temporarily pull the episode from rotation, leaving fans frustrated, scholars intrigued, and the creators deeply reflective about the fragile relationship between genius and public acceptability. As the incident underscored the powerful reality that even the sharpest wit can collide violently with societal norms when comedy ventures into the territory of discomfort, and that a single misjudged moment has the power to overshadow an entire legacy, reminding everyone involved that television, unlike film, is an immediate and highly scrutinized medium where timing, perception, and cultural context can elevate or endanger even the most beloved show. The long-term impact of the infamous scene on Fawlty Towers extended far beyond the immediate controversy, because it became a defining moment in television history that revealed both the power and the fragility of comedy, illustrating how humor that pushes boundaries can be celebrated and vilified in equal measure, depending entirely on timing, context, and cultural sensibilities. While the series continued to air and remained beloved decades later, the producers and cast were forever aware that a single scene had the potential to overshadow years of brilliant work, and this awareness influenced how future episodes were written, rehearsed, and performed, instilling caution alongside creativity. John Cleese, reflecting on the incident in later interviews, emphasized that the scene was intended as satire, a hyperbolic reflection of human absurdity and social awkwardness, not as an endorsement of the offensive behavior depicted. Yet the public reaction underscored the delicate balance between intention and perception, and how comedy can be misinterpreted when it pushes too close to raw societal nerves. For fans and television historians, the controversy became a case study in the ethics of humor, the limits of censorship, and the responsibilities of creators in a medium that reaches millions instantly, while for the cast it served as a reminder that professional risk comes hand in hand with artistic reward. The episode, while controversial, ultimately cemented Fawlty Towers as a show that was unafraid to explore discomfort, exposing the foibles of human behavior in ways that were both hilarious and unnerving, and it set a precedent for future comedies that sought to challenge audiences without alienating them entirely. Behind the scenes, the cast and crew acknowledged that the experience had strengthened their understanding of comedic timing, audience psychology, and the consequences of pushing satire too far, and it shaped how British sitcoms were approached in the years that followed, influencing writers, directors, and performers to navigate the fine line between laughter and offense more carefully. The infamous scene became a legend in its own right, often referenced in retrospectives, documentaries, and academic studies as an example of how one moment, carefully constructed yet misunderstood, can alter the trajectory of a beloved television series, serving both as a warning and as proof of the boldness that defined Fawlty Towers. Today, decades later, the episode is still analyzed, discussed, and even celebrated by those who understand the subtle genius of Cleese and Booth, who used the scene to expose the absurdity of social pretense and the unpredictability of human interaction, proving that comedy, at its most powerful, does not simply entertain. It challenges, provokes, and forces audiences to confront discomfort while laughing. In the end, the infamous scene that nearly derailed Fawlty Towers stands as a testament to the series' brilliance, a moment where daring creativity collided with societal limits, reminding creators, fans, and critics alike that true comedy has the power to endure controversy, transform perception, and leave a lasting imprint on television history that continues to resonate with audiences more than 40 years later.